Hey guys, what's up? It's Schlaw coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schlaw. And today I'm in a little bit of a more awkward situation than usual. Because I was just in a big rush trying to do something and couldn't quite do it in time, so I was just kind of hurrying there for a little bit. I don't know. Anyways, so just need a moment to collect myself because I was rushing, not really for any particular reason, but yes, we are continuing to go the strange way and not too happy about it, but commute tax, what can I say? And it's a commute tax because of the stingy Stooges. That's what it's a commute tax for. The stingers. I'm making the executive decision to now drive in auto because I will get better fuel economy, and I learned that you can shift into M while driving. So I believe once I get onto the highway, I will use the manual mode as usual because it basically becomes impossible to drive it better in manual just because of the way it is. You can't shift earlier. Like basically, I thought, I thought that if I had it in manual, I could shift it earlier and essentially get better fuel economy, but we can't do that, and so I think I'll just leave it in the auto because the auto really gets it shifting in a lower, it really keeps it in a low RPM, which I thought it would be a little bit more of a performance tilt, but it is not. So, yep, and there is some traffic to deal. Wait, actually, is there some traffic to do? It doesn't really look like it. It's kind of weird. I can't tell. No, I think there is traffic. Never mind. I guess it doesn't look horrendous, though. But, anyways, to get to my main topic of the day, the thing I've been thinking about today is this idea of I don't, so there's two main issues, right? The left tends to focus on billionaires and millionaires and over capitalism. Why I was going to say capitalization, but like what? That is not the right thing to say in that. So over capitalism, billionaires and stuff is the problem. That's why things are the way they are. And the right tends to focus more on it's just personal responsibility is the problem, and birth rates and things like that. And the truth of it is it's both. Like both of those things have made conditions worse for poorer Americans. It's not, and it's interesting because, well, unless there could be a lot of immigration, and I guess that genuinely would, tons of immigration genuinely would kind of counter a lot of these things. So I'm not really sure. I guess there's debate. There's a lot of debate about that or how effective that really is at nullifying the problem. But yeah, at the end of the day, the people who, for a while there basically was people who chose not to have children. And this was seen as like a personal choice. Like somebody could want to have kids or not want to have kids. And the truth of it is, it's a deeply selfish choice because everybody who chose not to have children basically sabotages the future generation in their own individualistic, selfish gain. So the way any society works, any economy works, obviously you have people exchanging money. So when you have more people being born than currently exist, you get a lot of benefit. You get a lot of benefit from that because first of all, young people are always way more valuable than old people. They're physically less of a strain on society because they're a lot healthier. They're a lot more independent intrinsically. So younger people tend to have an edge when it comes to... Now, of course, there's a lot of... Young people tend to also make worse decisions. So there is that as a factor. But I'm saying, excluding that, younger people actually are better in terms of they do more, or they have the potential to do more. They're more resilient. They're healthier. They're less of a cost on the system. And old people are more of a cost on the system, obviously. So I don't think this is something many people think about, or maybe they don't like to think about it. Not really sure, but that's kind of my preliminary preface. And what else is there to... What else should I preface this point with? Yes, young people are more important and contribute more, essentially. They're less hogs to the system. And so, when you have... If you are an adult and you have a lot of kids, it is a temporary net negative because it's costly to raise them initially. But once they become independent, it is a personal, huge positive. It is a huge positive. Like the fact that, you had kids and that was expensive. So now you have to drive a Volkswagen instead of an Audi. In the short term, it hurts. It's sad. It's annoying. But in the long term, you're actually not only likely to be better off because you're going to have someone who supports you, of course, if you were a good parent and were there for your kid. And, well, it is a bit of a dice roll, though, obviously, having kids. You never know how they're going to act. So the idea is to have a couple, a few, multiple children. So at least one of them will have your back, right? At least one of them. And because there can always be a bad apple in the bunch. Parenting is a huge component, but you can't expect that. You can't expect that all your children are just necessarily going to like you like that. I don't know. Just doesn't always pan out that way. And so just keep that in mind. Doesn't always pan out that way. But the most important thing is you're doing a net positive to the greater community. Even if you think you're getting ahead of yourself personally, which you probably are getting ahead personally as a result of avoiding having children, you probably are getting ahead personally. You are doing a huge net negative to society, because if you have 4 children and they're all working and they're all spending money in the economy, and they're working, so they're paying into Social Security, they're making money, they're spending some of it, saving some of it, that is a huge world, like, societal level contribution. And if nobody has kids and there isn't young people to fill in to pay for Social Security or really any tax, it's not even just Social Security, it's all taxes across the board. It is pinching the smaller cohort of younger people who do exist. It pinches them. And that's what we're seeing now, is my generation is getting pinched pretty hard. All right, now let's try out shifting into M while driving. Worked fine. Great. All right. Anyways, that's what's happening with my generation, is that we are getting pinched really hard because not many of us, and hey, here's the thing, it's going to be even worse for the generation after us. Those people are getting pinched so badly. I mean, their lives are rough. Sadly, my life kind of got gypped too, though, and anybody else from my cohort. We really got messed up a little bit, but we saw the golden age as a child. We saw it. We're kind of like the transition. No, we are the transition. We were the transition between, the golden age, and then now the worst timeline that we're in. That's where we're at now. Oh, this point is annoying because I let it slip into fifth. That's a shame. Yeah, that's basically like, I think the auto is better for the lower gears, but once you're on the higher gears, it really doesn't make sense to be in auto. It's just stupid. So, anyways. So it's not fair. It's not going to be. It's going to be even less fair to the even younger generation, because and this has detrimental effects on the economy, because you have less people contributing to the economy and contributing to the government. So that's two bad choke points, and it causes a lot of problems, and that's what we're seeing now. I mean, even with the debt, if you had correct birth rates, there would be more revenue right now, I'm sure the debt wouldn't be as big of an issue. But a lot of people don't calculate that stuff properly. And yeah, it's still the government's fault for drafting horrible budgets, but I'm just saying, it's not just the government may have been assuming that people were going to have a lot of kids, and then now there wasn't really an expectation that there was going to be a drop off. So anyways, my whole point with this is that there actually should be basically like a reverse Social Security, where people who don't have children should basically be punished because they're making it so that there's Gen Z, there's more of a pressure and a load put onto us as a result of people not having enough kids. So there should basically be a Social Security, like an extra 6% taxed on any working adult who's single, and then that should be transferred down to the maybe everybody under 30 or something like that. And then, it would obviously shift. You might even do like a 12% on very old people, people who are like in their 60s, 50s, or 60s. Something like that. I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually like a fairer system. And so the problem is people don't believe that. They probably don't want to believe it. And then as a result, like they would hear me say that, oh, that's no good. Oh, that sounds horrible. Which, of course, why would somebody in their 50s or 60s want to believe that? Of course they're going to be opposed to it, you know? But it's right. It would kind of make things fair, at least right now. It would make things a lot fairer, that system. I could probably explain it better, but I'm not sure that I'm really super interested in doing that, because this is while driving. I mean, there were so many videos I wanted to make at home more professionally, but it's just not me. That's just not me, and it's a shame. But until I'd have like a team or something working here, I just can't see how that's going to happen, because it's not my passion. It's not really my hobby or anything like that. And for some people it is. Some people have a genuine interest in things like that. So it just depends, you know. I want to talk. I want to be the voice, but I don't really want to get into a lot of that other stuff. So it's just how it is. I don't know. It is what it is. So, yeah, that is my thought of the day, my controversial take of the day. Although, again, it's absolutely accurate. Like there is an immense accuracy to what I'm saying. There is. So it's true. It's how things should be. And the problem is a lot of adults just don't see it that way. And so that kind of explains why the Stooges got away with what they did to me, you know? Because they don't know what's going on. They don't care. They care about themselves and whether they're able to get their takeout from their favorite restaurant or afford their payment on their new BMW. You know, that's kind of how the Stooges roll in terms of, you know, their mindset about things, I guess. So it's interesting, you know, it's interesting. And I guarantee none of those people understand that or think that at all. Like, and some of them, I think I know. I think I'm well aware that some of them don't have kids. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's very crazy. It's just like a very unfair system and unfair world. But yes, there should be a tax that is snatched out of older people and transferred to younger people, and it should be specifically for people who did not have children, because those people are just selfish. Like, and it's literally, it's just by the numbers, right? Like, if you now, and of course you could get technical about it. Sorry I didn't mention this before, but of course if somebody has fertility issues, like, they would be exempt, you know, because that point, yeah, you can't do anything about that. You know, there's probably people who want, so yeah, I mean, you know, but you get the premise of what I'm saying. Just by the numbers, you are doing the world a bad thing. You are doing your society a disservice by not having kids, and a lot of people who are choosing to do that get away with it. They get to buy more materialistic things, and they get to live like a better, more opulent life and have zero consequence for their actions, even though they've effectively made life worse for all other Americans. You see how that's not really too fair, right? It's not. So just things to keep in mind, right? This is just all stuff to keep in mind. And nobody thinks about it. And so that's why, like, I'm called judgmental because I see things that other people don't see or understand. Right? And then now, like, I'm like a mean person or a bad person because there's obviously, oh, as long as what somebody does doesn't affect other people, I'm not going to judge them. But what if you don't understand how something somebody's doing is affecting other people? Because that's not something anybody'd want to judge. If somebody didn't want to have kids, they'd think that's a personal choice and, you know, there shouldn't be anything said about it. That's how people would think, right? But that's not the truth. The truth is, it's a bad decision. So how do you reconcile with that? You know? How do you reconcile with it? A lot of people don't. And they just would see me as mean. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary to realize that I'm in a world that is so systemically dependent and people have no bearing on the selfish behavior that they engage in. And it shouldn't be like that, you know? Now, here's where it gets tricky. At this point, it's already so far gone, I don't even know if I can have kids. You know what I mean? Because things are so deteriorated, it would have took most people like 20, 30, 40 years ago to realize this, you know? The generation that milked the system already did. And my gen was kind of like the last of the normal. I think, again, the gen before, I mean, we're hit too by it. I think millennials and Gen Z, but it's really Gen Alpha who is just totally like, people are not having kids anymore. And it's just a lot of selfish attitudes, and it's controversial to talk about, I know. But it's true. I mean, like, I'm not wrong, so it's just like, I don't know. I'm just trying, but again, if you are a member of Gen Z, it's like, well, what do we do now? We're handed a broken system, and I know I should have children. Everybody should have children. But, well, maybe not every. No, I'm joking. But everybody should have children. But the thing is it has been made incredibly difficult. And I was very lazy early on. So, and it's getting costlier and costlier. So I'm not sure what I'm even able to do. You know, but it's not so much Gen Z's responsibility. It was really the previous gens. I would say a lot of damage was probably done by Gen X, right? Because, yeah, I would say that would have been a big damage point, Gen X. Because, I mean, the baby boomers were, well, and then, yeah, they were responsible for Gen X. So there was a lot of selfishness in Gen X and baby boomers, I think. I think so. And there obviously, you know, there were a lot of people that chose not to have children and stuff. Because I think Gen X was like, they were a part of they were still a part of an era where you had big families. Then I think Gen X themselves did not have you know what I mean? So that's kind of thing. And they don't realize, I've talked to people from Gen X before. They are they have it so good, and they are some of the most, I guess blind is really a good way to say it. Because plenty of them are financially in great shape, you know, but it's just because they were born at such a good time, and so it pretty perfectly lined up with now having a good job at this point, you know? Like yeah, it was pretty perfect. I mean, being born in like the 60s or the 70s, pretty perfect for financial well-being. And even like the early 80s. I mean, yeah, you're probably doing okay right now if you were born like 70s, early 80s. But after that, it starts to get like a little more, like there was a lot of wealth opportunity, but it really depends. It became more of an inequality thing. Like basically, I think in terms of broad access to becoming rich, it's early on. It would have been like the late 50s, early 60s would have been the best time. If you just want to be a regular person, work a regular job, broad scale, like a large percentage of the population, that would be the best time to be born. Late 50s, early 60s, you know, somewhere like that. That would easily be the best time to be born. No doubt about it. But as you get forward, you still have a potentially good financial opportunity, but it diminishes. So the percentage of people with the opportunity shrinks, but the amount of potential stays the same, if that makes any sense. A lot of people still could if they wanted to. But a lot of people chose not to. Wait, no, that's not, I'm not even saying that right. A lot of people could if they wanted to. What am I talking about? That is not what I meant to say. I was just merging, so I just started like blabbering. Yeah, I sorry. I just have no idea what what I was talking about now. I'm sorry, guys. Like I don't know what that was about. I'm so sorry. Yeah, because you can't outshift the auto. Like the auto does seem to. There's only like a few circumstances where you probably could outshift the auto, because obviously I think the auto bases it on like throttle input as well. So if you hit the throttle a little bit too hard, then it'll shift. Sorry, my brain is in like limbo because I low-key am annoyed about I'm low-key annoyed about what I just like forgot about, and then I just switched to a new topic, and I'm thinking, why did I just switch to a new topic? Like I did not need to do that. And I guess food for thought. I did realize today, milk is like such a cheap good food. I can't believe it. If you actually research into it in terms of the nutrients that it is providing, it is just such an affordable food. It's crazy. It's actually crazy how affordable milk is for what you're getting. The protein per dollar, I think it's just unmatched. It's just simply unmatched. And whole milk is obviously the most bang for your buck, because you're just getting extra fat and calories. Well, fat from calories. So it's the same. At least I've seen in the store, it's usually the same price. So Yeah, but it's really cheap. It is so cheap for what you're getting. And so I'm genuinely I'm thinking about pushing it to 2 gallons a week, cuz I know I talked about trying it this morning and stuff, but I didn't explain how it was. What am I saying? I didn't do the research as of then. I still thought differently about it, but I did not realize just how ridiculous it's just so cheap for the amount of protein and calories you're getting. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know why I don't know why I haven't been drinking it. I just didn't realize, I guess. And I had that poor experience with store-bought milk, but that milk, I think I just got, like, I just happened to just get unlucky bad and got bad milk, like, the first time I tried it or something like that. It's my only explanation, and it's a shame, because if that didn't happen, I probably would have got it sooner, but you have to hope it was some kind of fated thing. So, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So I think we shift into 5th at... Oh, you can actually do it under 30. Wow. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, once you get to basically 4th, it definitely becomes better to be in manual, but it's nearly impossible to shift properly before that, because it takes such a precision. Like, each perfect the perfect shifts at the lower gears. I'm explaining this. I probably sound so stupid, because to anybody who actually knows about car stuff, it's like, yeah, no kidding. That's basically what somebody's probably thinking. Like, yeah, dude, of course. But it's true. I mean, it's just like, it's just true that what am I getting? Why am I acting like this? It's true that the earlier gears are just hard to get right. So it's basically impossible to beat the automatic. I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think of how. I think if you had some kind of an interface where it was like, it was either just paddle shifters, like if I had the screen up on the window, the pop-up view thing, and I had paddle shifters, that might make it possible to where, you could be on par. Because if you really had that, like, visibility right there, and you had the paddle shifters right here, I feel like that could work. I do. I think that's like there's potential there for things to be good. And you could probably outdo. But the problem is, too, it's not marked. Like, you would need it to be like a video game where the dials had, like, screens behind them, and you could essentially, like, it would pop up with, like, a little green line. When the RPM needle hits there, you have to shift. I would really like that if that was possible, but I mean, it probably is, but I just wish it did that, because then we'd be talking. Then actually, yeah, forget everything else I'm saying. Then we'd probably be talking. But it's still tricky, because at the lower gears, the RPM needle shifts so much that it's very tricky. It's very tricky to get it right, because the RPM needle is moving so fast Whereas like the optimal shifting at the higher speeds, the RPM needle is moving pretty slow. So it's like chill. It's not really a big deal, you know? But yeah, and then this is where, yeah, we downshift once we get to here. Yep. I don't know. I'm just switching it up. I'm just trying to do the mile per gallon driving now, so keep the gears as high as possible. We're just switching things up, you know? Just switching things up. And I believe, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, well, I mean, this is evidence of it. So I did still get a headache today, which is continuing that annoying trend of the Monday headache, because, like, it's pretty common. And it's like, if not Monday, I'll get it Tuesday. But today, I obviously had my heavily salted things and my heavily salted beef, and as a result, the headache is not really that bad. And I didn't even drink as much water as I usually do. But I think I kind of overdid it with the minimizing water, and that was kind of the problem. Like, I probably still should have drank a little more, but evidence of, you know, I really didn't drink that much, and I still feel good. I still feel good. You know, like, the headache's really small, and yeah, I don't know. I feel good. I've honestly never felt better. Salt is like magic. It's really something that I don't understand why I was told it was bad, because it's a magical rock, really. It's just a magical rock. That's all it is, truly. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited for the future. I'm really going to try to crank up the milk and see what happens. Now, I probably shouldn't jump straight into 2 gallons, but because this week we're just doing half a gallon. It actually, in now that I think about it more, it would be kind of ridiculous to drink that much milk. Like, because even drinking the half a gallon a week, that already seems pretty fine to me. Like, I feel pretty happy with that. Like, that feels like a good amount, if that makes any sense. I feel like half a gallon a week would be, like, good for me. Now, granted, I don't know, because I did have almost a pint of ice cream this morning in addition to a cup of milk. So, if I didn't have that, yeah, you know, it's just thinking about it. Because I'm happy with the taste, and it almost tastes the same as ice cream, you know? It's just kind of like, then you start to think, like, well, what's the point of the ice cream then? You know, it just gets, like, silly. So, but yeah, I'm starting to get the thirst now, so I'm probably low on sodium, and that's not good. I think I'm going to have to look into salting my water and researching that, just to see, you know, is that recommended? Is that something people actually do? Because I feel like I would be better with that. And I really should be taking a magnesium supplement. I'm just pushing off getting those supplements, but I think eventually I will get the supplements, and I will stop being silly. It's been Schlaw, but now it's time to buy Schlaw. So, see ya, Schlaw.